Hi there guys, it's Joel here from Aussie Chart Trends. Today's market update is for the week ending Friday the 30th of November 2012. Today's update, we're going to be checking out the smp500 firstly, then we're going to take a look at the asx200. Today's market update is brought to you from the guys over at tradingforblondes.com.au. Feel free to pop past their website and have a good read there. You can also put in your name and your email address and get some useful information. Feel free to pop past my website over at aussiecharttrends.com.au and you can sign up to my newsletter there. And if you're interested, you can join up to the forum as well. And every now and then I'll put out a little article on a stock, and you can feel free to comment in that forum as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the S&P 500 firstly. Looking on the hourly chart here at the S&P 500, which means each candlestick here represents 1 hour of trade. We've been watching the S&P 500 make a reversal pattern this week, and that reversal pattern was an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Now, what is an inverted head and shoulders pattern? It's where we have a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder with a little handle pattern. Now, as you can see, this blue line that I've got drawn here, this is a neckline to this entire pattern. Now, when the market broke over this area, this week we watched the markets rally on up and then come back down for a back test on this blue line. Now, we do have a target from this pattern. By measuring the depth of the head and bringing that up to the neckline, and we add that onto where the market broke out, and as you can see, we have a target there of the 1430 area. Now, you'll notice if you have been watching my videos that I've drawn two new lines on this chart, and that's this bottom line here and this top line here. Now, the S&P 500 appears to be going up in a rising wedge pattern. Now, inverted head and shoulders patterns do have a tendency to produce a rising wedge pattern in a general sense. Now, how do you define whether this is actually a rising wedge pattern? Well, once before I've shown a few subscribers, what you do is you just draw a line between the middle here and you bring it out straight down the middle of this rising wedge. And as you can see, it's not 100% perfect, but there is definitely an area there where the market has found resistance. Then we're able to get over this area, come back down, and then hug this line again. We got underneath it, and so forth. So for now, we are anticipating that the S&P 500 will head on up to that 1430 area. Now, in last week's review, I was discussing that we may be looking at an even larger inverted head and shoulders pattern. With our left shoulder over here, our head down here, we may rally up to this area because we do expect resistance on this line. Now, the reason why we expect resistance around this 1430 area is because all the people that bought shares around this area here on a tag of this line, they were people that held onto their positions. They watched the market free fall, and then now when the market rallies on back up to where they bought their shares, they're willing to break even. So you'd expect that this red line here in the coming week will act as resistance, and that will probably most likely come down eventually to that 1410 area. And if we can hold, and I'll state if we can hold, and then come up and take this line out here again, we would be looking at an inverted head and shoulders pattern, and that would be pushing the S&P 500 up to new highs around that 1520, 1530 level. Now, if we have a look on an extended chart, ever since early June, the S&P 500 has been rallying on up in a rising channel. Now, I had a yellow line drawn here. I've changed it to blue, and as you can see, the market found an area here of support all the way up, and then when we broke down and took out this second line, that's when we knew that the market was in a bit of trouble. As you can see, we did get that back test on this blue line, then the markets proceeded to head down. So what I'm thinking is, if we can head on up and we do eventually break out, say over here, in maybe late December or January, we'd be looking then for a move all the way up to tag maybe potentially on this line up here in 1530s. But for now, let's just see what happens in the coming week and see if the S&P reaches that target of 1430. Let's take a look now at the asx200. Looking on the hourly chart here of the asx200, we had this small inverted head and shoulders pattern over here. Now, I had this blue neckline drawn, and we had a target, a minimum expected target out of this pattern last week. If we could break above this area, which we did, of around that 4,450 area as a minimum expected target. Now, as you can see, the asx200 has rallied up really strong, and I've just extended out these trend lines here. On Friday, we were able to get over this blue resistance area. Now, guys, I think what we are looking at here is a complex head and shoulders pattern here. We've got a left shoulder here, a head down here, a right shoulder with our handle breakout. Now, potentially, guys, we would have a measured move all the way up to around that 4,590 area. If the S&P 500 can hold true to those levels and get over that 1430 area, I would say then we're definitely going to be heading up to test this old high over here. We are in this rising channel, and the asx200 briefly got out of it. It's not an uncommon thing for the markets to be able to get back into a rising channel. Just one more thing, we may come back down for a back test on this neckline down here, and if we can hold here around this area, around that 4,460 area in the coming week, I would say then that we'll start to head on back up. So guys, that pretty much wraps up this week's update. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, all I ask is that you do click the subscribe button on YouTube, and I really do appreciate your support and feedback. I'll see you guys on Monday for a free daily market update.